This is Design Safe Radio, where natural hazards researchers strive to make our society more resilient to everything nature throws at us.
So that we've got a lot of people who listen and we do various outreach. Anybody who's seen us at AGU, a lot of people will we meet our early career engineers or getting into grad school and hoping to be have a career in the academic world. What was your experience developing your proposal for the Career Award? Do you have any advice for anybody writing their proposal, and how'd that go?
Yeah, so it was a very long process. And I don't know if I have good advice for writing it. I can just sort of say what worked for me in the end. There was I kind of had a seed of an idea coming out of grad school and entering this academic position. And I kind of sat on it started thinking about it and thinking about it. And this was a while ago, right? This was me thinking about it from 2018 to 2020 or something. And then I think it was as the pandemic had started, there was kind of a push within the college to get folks submitting a career proposal. And so there was a support group developed to get a career proposal submitted.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was good as far as putting together putting my ideas on paper and starting to really work them out, because writing is thinking. So being forced to write them out and really start to flesh them out and think of what I would do and talk with some folks. And I submitted that and it wasn't successful, but I got encouraging feedback from the reviewers. And then I think the next year I revised and I got lots of different feedback, and that one was, I would say, less successful. It was reviewed less favorably. So, and then, I think last year when I submitted, I had a really busy year. I hadn't been able to really put a lot of work into it, except for starting to develop those community college relationships and, starting to develop relationships for outreach and planning outreach events. To develop the educational component. And this time it was very much, I didn't have, and this is why I say, I'm saying what worked for me. I'm not saying what everyone else.
Any data is good data, but it's still a single data point.
Yeah. I basically locked myself away for a month. And canceled all my meetings except for the critical ones and just worked on it for a month, kind of nonstop. And I was able to carry through that momentum of I still think I have an idea. Well, I have an idea I'm passionate about. I still think that it's a good idea, and just being able to really focus and put in the time in order to develop it and submit it.
It also sounds like you had focused on before the becoming a hermit for a month. Focused on something that a lot of scientists and engineers may not see as critical to their success, but building those relationships, with the community colleges, with that support group, with your, colleagues and advisors and things at the university, all that groundwork made it possible for that month to be really fruitful.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. The kind of already having discussed some of these ideas and having just one-off cups of coffee with folks to kind of understand what their research is, what mine is, how their methods could maybe help solve some of the problems I'm running into. That was years.
Yeah.
Years of kind of not really understanding what those meetings necessarily were for, but they did have some payoff in the end when I could sort of pull those resources together for the proposal. Absolutely.
Yeah. Have you ever heard, I'm going to look up this book that I just listened to. Have you ever heard of Cal Newport? He kind of writes about knowledge work in general. I'm going to find this. Oh yeah, he just wrote a book called Slow Productivity, which your work reminded me of.
Yeah.
But this idea that measuring productivity shouldn't just be the usual academic thing. How many papers do you get out in a year?
Yeah.
But looking at it more okay, if you give yourself space to spend a month on a proposal and cancel all non-essential meetings, in that month you didn't write any other papers, you didn't publish anything, you didn't invest as much time in your teaching, whatever other things you had to say no to.
Mhm.
But it led to a career proposal, which has been accepted and now gives you something to focus on for the next 5 to 10 years.
Right. And yeah, and there was also like the two previous unsuccessful proposals, which
Mm-hmm.
I mean sit in a pile of many other unsuccessful proposals that
Yeah.
like they are a part of the process of like getting to the point of becoming productive. And I don't even want to say becoming productive because at least I see it as all kind of part of the productive process. Like I still
Yeah.
managed to develop ideas, do like dig into certain areas and yeah, kind of cultivate some of those contacts.
Yeah. This is getting more to an interesting existential philosophical question, which I really love. Like, did you have support from, your university and kind of senior members of the faculty there to not rush things?
Um, yeah, I mean, yeah, certainly. Like, I feel just in like as in general very supported by PSU and the department, and yeah, I very much. I mean, our geotech group here is like it's myself and another early. Well, he's now mid-career, I suppose, but relatively early career professor, Arash Khosravafar, and yeah, so we have like had a ton of support to really build up our group and to do it in a way that works for us and at our own pace, so that we can kind of integrate with practice here in the area and integrate with other researchers in our area and start to focus on issues that are impactful for the Portland and Pacific Northwest area. And so yeah, it's been nice in that like it's a small, very collegial group here at PSU, kind of at all levels of because we don't have a huge college of engineering. We have a
Yeah.
really nice size college of engineering that there's not a lot of like pressure or yeah, yeah, pressure to do things one certain way or on a certain timeline here, beyond just the regular tenure timeline.
Right, of course. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's whoever you need to give some kudos to for creating that culture, please do, because I from what I've seen in the academic world. I mean, I'm not a faculty member, so thankfully I don't have that kind of pressure, but um, that's rare. Uh, um, so that's
Yeah,
really, really good to see that there are universities that do operate, at least departments anyway, that operate like that.
yeah, sure. And like, I mean, and maybe it's just all kind of part of the Portland culture, right? Like
Yeah, it's a little bit, it's a little
it's
bit
pretty similar
Portland.
on YouTube, yeah. But you could like when I came here to interview, like you could feel it here. Like everyone could like knew who each other was making jokes or talking about their work. And yeah, you kind of got a sense they called themselves like scrappy. Like we have to be kind of a scrappy department. Like we're not an R1 university. We don't have like a ton of funding coming in. And so we kind of have to like we make things work, we do good work, but like we do have to like make it work kind of by putting together odds and ends.
Yeah.
But it just means that everyone seems to be kind of all working to row the same boat in a lot of ways.
Yeah, that's really important. I mean, especially as you get going in, into your early career, an environment like that
Mhm.
um sounds a lot more healthy.
Yeah, 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 agreed.
Yeah. So yeah, that's it's really good to hear that you've got that up there at PSU.
Yeah.
Are there any other factors like that either may be unique to your department or that you've seen work for other folks that you'd like to highlight?
Well, so I will bring up like I did, and maybe this is just kind of like where I recognize that I enjoy working the most. And so it's just kind of where I found myself throughout like my career. But so I started my undergrad at University of British Columbia in the geological engineering department. And it's a small department. Like I think there's about 30 or yeah, it's a small, maybe not a department. I don't think it's a department itself, but it's a like a degree program within the Earth and Ocean Sciences department. But the other geological engineers in my class were about 30. So it's like a small group,
Mm,
work together, go to field schools together, do these field trips. And there was like a space for the geological engineers to work and plan events and study. And so it was like a nice tight knit group of students working together. And I really enjoyed that. I feel like I really benefited from that. And then I go to grad school, and on the first phone call with my advisor, when he was telling me about the department, he points me to the student group that they've developed, the GGSS, Geotechnical Graduate Student Society at UC Davis. And it's a small student group that they work together. They do outreach events together. They do field trips together. They plan events, and they kind of get a similar space to work in as grad students. And that was, to me, was really attractive for UC Davis. And so I found myself in that kind of environment.
Yeah,
there.
just trying to, kind of tease out some of these other factors that I think is really important to see, that there are many ways to a successful, career in academia and a successful career proposal. And what I'm hearing you say is a lot of you identified rather early on what environments that you thrive in and have put yourself in those.
Yeah. And then here at PSU, trying to cultivate something similar for our students. And yeah, hopefully it means that we attract students that also thrive in those environments, and that are also interested in like doing high quality research, but also taking part in professional development and outreach events and field trips, and planning more enriching experiences for them and the other graduate students.
Yeah, I think you're putting together a great ad campaign for the non R1 universities writ large.
Yeah.
Which is great because they need it, right?
Right.
I love being a Boilermaker, and and Illini, we'll support those schools all the day long. But it's really good to see these thriving cultures at the smaller universities that have such a great contribution to the scientific environment in our country, and it's really cool to hear. Thanks for listening to today's episode of Design Safe Radio. Be sure to like and subscribe on whatever platform you happen to be listening to this on. It really helps people find our show. Thanks to our amazing sponsors, the National Science Foundation and the NARI Network Coordination Office, which is award number 2129782. Big thank you to Marty LaChance, our guest booker and topic researcher extraordinaire, and Raquel Ruiz, who is our video and audio editor. I'm your host and NARI Facility Scheduling and Operations Coordinator, Dan Zahner. We'll see you in the next episode. Until then, stay resilient.